Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we will start with our 17th Introduction to Literature lecture, and it's going to be a discussion of King Oedipus after having discussed the play in general and after having given an overview of the plot. Today we will go into a detailed discussion of the play. And we will focus more on criticism. Okay, probably you have known right now that Oedipus the King is the play which was written by a very famous Greek author known as Sophocles. It was written in the 5th century BC. This play is also well known with Oedipus Tyrannus or Oedipus the Rex, that is Oedipus the King. Actually, the play is a trilogy of Oedipus, which was written in 3 plays. And I want to stop here and explain to you the meaning of trilogy. It was common in Greek drama to write a play which was based on a story that all the Greek audience were familiar with. And this play usually consists of 3 parts, but you can study each part independently. But of course, your knowledge of the myth on which the 3 plays is based is very important. So a trilogy is from, when we start a word with TRI, it means 3. Trilogy means 3 plays. So Oedipus the King is a trilogy of Oedipus, which was written in 3 plays. The first one is our play, and this is the only one we will focus on, which is Oedipus the King. And it was followed by Oedipus at Colonus, and finally Antigone, the daughter of Oedipus. These 3 plays describe Oedipus's tale, beginning from the appointment as the king of Thebes after answering the riddles of the Sphinx until the fall of Oedipus, and later the tragedies of his children. The story starts with King Oedipus's concern of the plague which falls to Thebes. Afraid of the end of the country, Oedipus sent his brother-in-law Creon to seek the advice from Apollo. I have to tell you that after Oedipus's marriage to Jocasta, and after he begot 4 kids by her, the city of Thebes fell under plague. The city became sort of cursed, because first he killed the king of the country, and number 2, because he's married to his own mom. So Creon informs Oedipus that the plague is a curse from the gods, that they want the murderer of Laos, the former king of Thebes, to be punished for his work. And according to the tale, Laos, the father of Oedipus, the real father of Oedipus, was murdered by a pack of thieves in a crossroads. Ironically, Oedipus himself swears and dedicates to discover and prosecute the Laos's murderer. Oedipus's citizens or subjects started questioning, and finally things reached to Tiresias, the blind prophet. When Oedipus summons Tiresias, Tiresias at first refuses to give any answers. You know why? Because the answer itself will not please the king. I think once Oedipus knows the truth, he will be destroyed. So in a way, you can think of Oedipus as a wise person who wanted to save Oedipus all the suffering and the pain that he will go through if he came to know the truth. But you have to notice that Oedipus has a certain character. He is very stubborn, and he is very proud, and he trusts his mental abilities. So even though Tiresias, Creon, and even Jocasta warned Oedipus against digging in the past, but he refused. Oedipus insists that Tiresias should give him the answer. Not only this, but Oedipus comes to the time when he threatens Tiresias that if he doesn't inform him, he will punish him. So as Jocasta herself became aware of what's going on, she started as well to tell Oedipus not to think of the past or to think of the oracles. And not only this, Jocasta even volunteers to tell Oedipus how King Eleus himself had a son who was prophesied to kill Laios and sleep with her. Well, she and Laios had the child killed. So obviously that prophecy did not come true, right? This is exactly how we are going to think. However, Jocasta's story doesn't comfort Oedipus. As a child, an old man told Oedipus that he was adopted by the ruler of Corinth. And the rulers are Polypus and his wife Merope. And the prophecy is similar to what Jocasta told him, that he would eventually kill his biological father and sleep with his biological mother. Not to mention the fact that Oedipus still remembers that he once killed a man at crossroads, which sounds exactly like the way Laios himself was killed. So Jocasta advises Oedipus not to look into the past any further, but of course Oedipus ignores her. And Oedipus continues to question a messenger. The messenger actually came to Thebes to bring news about Polypus's death. And a shepherd who gave the infant Oedipus to the king of Corinth. Notice the coincidence. Both of them have information about how Oedipus was abandoned as an infant and adopted by a new family. And the family is the family of the ruler of Corinth. Now, in a moment, Jocasta realizes that Oedipus is her son. And further, Oedipus himself, who killed his father, the man he killed in crossroads. Horrified at what has happened, she kills herself. Shortly thereafter, Oedipus too realizes that he was Laios's murderer and that he has been married to and having children with his mother. Yes, in horror and despair, he actually plucks his eyes out, and he was exiled from Thebes. Okay, I think it's easy to know the line of events and it's easy to summarize the plot, but we need also to interpret what all that means. Actually, Oedipus the King is not only very famous, but also very rich. And I insist that you study Oedipus and read about Oedipus and try to find some critical essays on the play, because I am sure that this will help you out in future courses. So what does the play mean? For example, what are the major themes of Oedipus the King? There are many themes that can be revealed from the play depending on the reader, of course. But many people agree on the following themes. The first one is fate and free will. Now remember, Oedipus was destined, even before his birth, that he will kill his father and marry his mother. Okay? So, could he have changed that? Obviously, no. But do you think that we as human beings often surrender to our fate? again, we don't. We don't surrender to our fate. All the time, human beings try to change their fate. So, in the play, it is described that what Oedipus faces in his life is about either fate or free will. Oedipus has to face the prophecy, which is supposed to be the will of the gods or the Greek gods. Now, Oedipus can stand far away from the prophecy. Facing the prophecy that says that Oedipus will kill his father and sleep with his mother, he set out from his fostered father, Polypus, and went to his own father, Laos, whom he killed later. Then he marries Jocasta, Laos's wife, or his own mother. Now, when Oedipus left his parents, his foster parents, the parents who adopted him because of the prophecy, it is his will to stay away from the prophecy. But his will even drag him into his real fate. Now, what does that mean? What does Sophocles try to tell us? Apparently, Sophocles wants to show that humans cannot defeat the will of God. No matter what humans have done, they have to admit that God's power is indeed a fact. Humans cannot defeat God's will. And this is stated in the play. Of course, the play also proves that whatever we do to avoid our fate is actually part of it. Wow, isn't this ironic? And also, whatever we do to escape from our fate works to make our fate become true. So Oedipus himself, after he was humbled, after the prophecy became true, says, "It was my fate to defile my mother's bed, to bring forth to men a human family that people could not bear to look upon, to murder the father who engendered me. When I heard that, I ran away from Corinth. From then on, thought of it just as a place beneath the stars. I went to other lands, so I would never see that prophecy fulfilled. The abomination of evil fate." Now, these verses from the play, which I am quoting from the play, show that Oedipus is willing to free himself from the prophecy. But what he did is that he walked away from a fate of his own to another real fate of the prophecy. And also Tiresias says to Oedipus, "It is not your fate to fall because of me. It's up to Apollo." And Apollo is the Greek god of prophecy. To make that happen, he will be enough. He also says that Oedipus curses himself and blames himself for what has happened. And Oedipus himself breaks out and says, "Oh Zeus, what have you done? What have you planned for me? It was Apollo, friends, it was Apollo. He brought on these troubles, the awful things I suffer. But the hand which stabbed out my eyes was mine alone. In my wretched life, why should I have eyes when nothing I could see would bring me joy?" So Oedipus here is in deep pain, so much so that he doesn't see any use for his eyes. So he actually stabbed out his eyes. And this is his choice. Okay, so this is the theme of fate and free will. But don't you see that there is a margin of choice here? For example, couldn't have Oedipus's family accepted fate and like raised him in the family, and then he would have known his real parents and all the tragedy wouldn't have fallen? Wouldn't his fate been different? Wouldn't his fate have been different if he had accepted his fate and remained in Corinth? I think he wouldn't have gone to Thebes, and he wouldn't have met Laos, and eventually he wouldn't have killed him. So there is always a margin of a human choice, even though we think that it is all the doing of God. Another theme that our play deals with is wisdom and knowledge. Besides the theme about fate, I think, and the free will, Sophocles wants to show the wisdom and the knowledge that Oedipus sought. He is a seeker of knowledge and the truth, and therefore he struggles to uncover Laos's murderer and his own identity, despite the numerous warnings that he should leave the truth alone. His pursuit of knowledge and the truth, however, results in ruining him. Oedipus uncovers his destiny, which he was better off not knowing. And the theme of wisdom and knowledge is shown in the dialogue between Oedipus and Tiresias, the blind prophet. Tiresias says, you may be king, but I have the right to answer you, and I control that right, for I am not your slave. I serve Apollo, and thus will never stand with a crayon. So I say this to you, since you have chosen to insult my blindness. You have your eyesight, and you don't see how miserable you are, or where you live, or who it is who shares your household. Do you know the family you came from? Without your knowledge, you have come the enemy of your own kindred, those in the world below and those up here, and the dreadful feat of that two-edged curse from father and mother both will drive you from this land in exile. Those eyes of yours, which now can see so clearly, will be dark. Now, in these verses, Tiresias shows Oedipus the truth and shows him what wisdom is. And we can understand that although Tiresias is a blind man, he can see clearer, even more than Oedipus can, who actually has eyes. Tiresias even tells Oedipus that he doesn't have the knowledge to know the family he comes from. Though Oedipus as a king has the knowledge to leave case because more accuse is led to him for the murder of Laos. Oedipus, in the contrary, wants to know the truth about Laos's murderer. Now, I think that Sophocles wants to show the difference between sight and insight. Oedipus has sight but has no insight. Tiresias has insight but has no sight. In order for us to know the truth, we don't only need our physical eyes, we need our insight. Oedipus mocked, that is, made fun of Tiresias's blindness. But Tiresias tells him that you are now bragging about your sight, but soon you will lose this sight. Also, Jocasta is part of this theme of wisdom. Jocasta, for example, tells her son, and who is also her husband, about this. So she says to him, listen to me and ease your mind with this. No human being has skill in prophecy. I will show you why with this example. So don't concern yourself with prophecies. Whatever gods intend to bring about, they themselves make known quite easily. In other words, she tells him, if the gods want you to know something, they will reveal it to you, so don't bother. But did Oedipus listen to Jocasta? No. It is not Oedipus's nature to listen. So Oedipus says to his wife and his mother, Lady, I listen to these words of yours. My soul is shaken, my mind confused. Jocasta, why do you say that? What's worrying you? Oedipus, I thought I heard you say that Leos was murdered at a place where three roads meet. Jocasta, that's what was said, and people still believe. Oedipus, where is this place? Where did it happen? Jocasta, in a land called Phosses. Two roads lead there, one from Delphi and one from Dolia. Oedipus, how long is it since these events took place? From this verse, we can see that Oedipus actually begins to understand what has happened. He begins to conclude that all the characteristics of the murderer and the murdering lead to him. Instead of leaving, he continues to seek the truth and bring his misfortune by his own hands. This suggests actually a very deep and profound theme. Knowledge is sometimes useless and limited in its ability to bring happiness to those who seek it. It's not true that when we seek knowledge, we feel happy. I think you all know what we say in Arabic. We say, لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبدى لكم تسؤكم. There are things that we should leave aside, and we should not really seek to know them. But it's part of the human nature to be curious, Like if you think of the fall of Adam and Eve from heaven. If they had remained innocent, they wouldn't have been in such a misery. But Adam and Eve were so curious that they ate from the forbidden fruit, and so God expelled them from heaven. Another theme in the play is determination. If you like, you can call it being stubborn or something like that. It is part of Oedipus's character to be stubborn and to be determined. His stubbornness to reveal the riddles of Leos's death and his keeping on his words, all these things make him a determined man, though it comes to an unfortunate fate and an unhappy life. And the result was his exile. He will be exiled from Thebes to Colonus, and this is the second play, Oedipus at Colonus. Another character in the play is Creon. Creon is the brother of Jocasta, Queen Jocasta. So he is his maternal uncle, and he is also his brother-in-law. He also tells him something, but he doesn't listen. For example, this dialogue in the play, Creon, at least first listen to what I have to say. Oedipus, there is one thing you don't have to tell me. You have betrayed me. This is another bad quality in the character of Oedipus. He often jumps to wrong conclusions, and he believes that what he understands is the ultimate truth. So Creon says, if you think being stubborn and forgetting common sense is wise, then you are not thinking as you should. Oedipus says, and if you think you can act to injure a man who is a relative of yours and escape without a penalty, then you are not thinking as you should. So once Oedipus figures that he is the only one who murdered Leos, he keeps his promise to be exiled. All right. So Oedipus was exiled eventually, and he should leave the place. Now, if we want to talk about the structure of the plot in Oedipus the King, we have three main parts for the plot. The first one is the introduction, when we have information about the curse that fell on Thebes, and when Oedipus sends Creon for additional information from Apollo, the god of prophecy, and how Oedipus is informed that he needs to find and punish the killer of Laos if he wants to lift the curse from the city. That is, he promises, to fix things. I think I need to tell you that when we meet Oedipus at the beginning of the play, when all the people of Thebes were in an act of supplication, they were praying to the gods and they were asking Oedipus to help them out. Oedipus goes out to them and he speaks to them kindly. This makes us feel that at the beginning of the play, Oedipus was a good ruler. So he talks to his people and he says to them, "My poor children, I know why you have come. I'm not ignorant of what you yearn for I well know that you are ill, and yet, sick as you are, there isn't one of you whose illness equals mine. Your agony comes to each one of you as his alone, a special pain for him and no one else. But the soul inside me sorrows for myself and for the city, and for you all together. You are not rousing me from a deep sleep. You must know I've been shedding many tears, and in my wandering thoughts exploring many pathways. After a careful search, I followed up the one thing I could find and act on it. So I have sent away my brother-in-law, Creon, to Apollo's shrine to learn from him what I might do or say to save your city. But when I count the days that time he has been away, I now worry what he's doing, for he has been gone too long, well past the time he should have taken. But when he comes, I will be a wicked man if I don't act on all the gods reveals." So this is the introductory part of our play. And I think Oedipus seems to be a very loving king and that he cares for his people. And most importantly, he shows respect to the gods and those who represent the gods. But later on, keep in mind that Oedipus will change. The second part of our plot is the rising action. It is when Oedipus questions Tiresias, questions the messenger, Jocasta, and even the shepherd. He is questioning them all for information about Laos's murder and his own birth. Yet Tiresias insists not to tell anything to Oedipus because the news he brings will bring nothing but burden to Oedipus. And Tiresias tells him that wisdom can sometimes be useless. So Tiresias says to Oedipus, and this is the rising action, "Alas, alas, how dreadful it can be to have wisdom when it brings no benefit to the man possessing it. This I knew, but it had slipped my mind. Otherwise, I wouldn't have journeyed here." Oedipus, "What's wrong? You've come, but seem so sad." Tiresias, "Let me go home. You must bear your burden to the very end, and I will carry mine, if you will agree with me." Oedipus, "What are you saying? What you are saying is not customary and shows little love toward the city-state, which nurtured you. If you deny us your prophetic voice, yes, if you deny us our or your prophetic voice, Now, Oedipus puts Tiresias face to face with his responsibilities, telling him that you are responsible for our city and you need to give us the prophecy. So, notice Oedipus is very, very stubborn and he doesn't listen to advice. Now, we reach the climax of the play. The climax of the play is when Oedipus becomes angry and sends Tiresias out of the palace. And Tiresias leaves the palace with one single piece of information, that if Oedipus and the Thebans want to seek the Laos murderer, the man is the one who is sitting on his throne. That is Oedipus himself. I want to draw your attention to a very horrible characteristic in Tiresias. Tiresias tries all the time to be secretive and to keep the secrets which hurt other people for himself. But if someone provokes him or if someone makes him angry, he pours everything. So Tiresias becomes angry and he says, I'm going, but first I shall tell you why I came. I don't fear the face of your displeasure. There is no way you can destroy me, I tell you. The man you have been seeking all this time, while proclaiming threats and issuing orders about the one who murdered Leos, that man is here. According to reports, he is a stranger who lives here in Thebes, but he will prove to be a native Theban. From that change, he will derive no pleasure. He will be blind, although he now can see. He will be a poor, although he is now rich. He will set off for a foreign country, groping the ground before him with a stick. And he will turn out to be the brother of the children in his house, their father too, both at once, and the husband and the son of the very woman who gave birth to him. He sought the same womb as his father and murdered him. Go in and think on this. If you discover I have spoken falsely, you can say I lack all skill in prophecy. So this is exactly the climax. Tiresias reveals the entire truth to Oedipus, and he gave him the truth in the form of a riddle, but I think the riddle is plain enough. Anyone would be able to notice that Oedipus killed Laos and that Oedipus is married to his own biological mother. The following action of the play is when both Jocasta and Oedipus realize that they have committed incest. I-N-C-E-S-T, which means marrying a woman who is not supposed to be your wife, like a sister or an aunt or a mother. This is what we call زواج المحارم in Arabic. Incest. I-N-C-E-S-T. And also Oedipus realizes that he has murdered his father, Laos. Jocasta hangs herself, and Oedipus plucks his own eyes, and he exiles himself. Now, a messenger comes with the news of Jocasta's death. He tells them the following. She killed herself. You did not see it. She was remembering that child of theirs born many years ago, the one who killed his father, who left her to conceive cursed children with that son. She was hanging there, swaying with twisted cords, roped around her neck. When Oedipus saw her with a dreadful groan, he took her body out of the noose in which she hung, and then the poor woman was lying on the ground. What happened next was a horrific sight. From her clothes, he ripped the golden brooches she wore as ornaments, raised them high, and drove them deep into his eyeballs, crying as he did so. So as you can see, Jocasta could not bear the truth, so she executed herself, and Oedipus did violence to his eyes, as you can see here with the mask. You have two eyes which are bleeding. The resolution is the play ends with Oedipus and he actually asks Creon to look after his daughters, because his sons are already grown up, but not his daughters. So Oedipus says, "But wherever my fate leads, just let it go. As for my two sons, Creon, there is no need for you to care for them on my behalf. They are men. Thus, no matter where they are, they will always have enough to live on. But my own two poor daughters have never known my dining table placed away from them or lacked their father's presence. They shared everything I touched. That's how it has always been. So take care of them for me. But first let me feel them with my hands, and then I'll grieve. Oh, my lord, you noble heart, let me do that." Okay, so let us now move to characters. Any play has a cast of characters, and this includes Oedipus, king of Thebes, the high priest, who is Tiresias, Creon, Oedipus's brother-in-law, and the chorus of Theban elders. I told you before that the chorus means a group of singers, but here the chorus means the Theban old men or the Theban elders, and they are the citizens of Thebes. We have Jocasta, the wife of Oedipus and the sister of Creon. We have an old man as a messenger. We have servants. We have second messenger, and we have the characters of Oedipus's children, who are not acting here, but they are just mentioned. So the basic characteristics of Oedipus is that he is determined and stubborn, and as I said, he trusts his mental abilities very, very much. Also, we can say that Oedipus is very arrogant or proud of himself. Jocasta, one of the important qualities, sorry, in her character is that she does not believe in prophecies. Creon, at least in the first part of the trilogy, seems to be an honest, loyal man. Tiresias is characterized by his wisdom. Any drama or any play has conflict. The conflict in the play begins with a blind prophet whose name is Tiresias, who works as a servant of Apollo, tells Oedipus that he is the murderer of Laios, and that he is the husband of Jocasta, his own mother. This is the beginning of the conflict. Oedipus, of course, doesn't believe the prophet. So Oedipus tries to gather a lot of things and pieces of evidence, but finally he comes to the conclusion that he himself is the murderer of his own father, and he is the husband of his own mother. So the conflict was between Oedipus and Tiresias, actually, as one of the important things. But I feel that the most difficult part was the internal conflict that Oedipus had been through when he was thinking of the sins that he committed. First murdering his father, and next marrying his own mother. And you know how horrible it is for a man to marry his own mother. So here we analyzed some aspects of Oedipus, and we tried to look at elements of drama that we find in Oedipus, but I think we need to have more ideas about Oedipus. So here we come to the end of our lecture for today. Next time, inshallah, we will talk more about how the play was criticized by critics, and why Aristotle considered Oedipus the supreme example of tragic drama, and he modeled his theory of tragedy on it. So I think we need to talk more about the play. For the time being, thank you very much, and goodbye.